Excellent. So thank you, everyone. My name is Sue Cumming, and I'm an independent facilitator, and I'm working with the City of Vaughan and with Civica on the Integrated Urban Water Plan. So we welcome you here this evening to the Public Information Center number 2, and this is a live virtual discussion. In that, it is a webinar. We will be giving a live presentation followed by a question and answer discussion. So we're going to get started now, and we'll be able to carry through. If you go to the next slide, please. So I wanted the opportunity to read to you the land acknowledgement for the city. So the City of Vaughan's land acknowledgement is as follows. We respectfully acknowledge that the City of Vaughan is situated in the Territory and Treaty 13 lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. We also recognize the traditional territory of the Huron-Wendat and the Haudenosaunee. The City of Vaughan is currently home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people today. As representatives of the people of the City of Vaughan, we are grateful to have the opportunity to work and live in this territory. Next, please. So with respect to this evening, we have a number of presenters. We have two key ones, Diego Velasquez from the City of Vaughan and Ilmar Simnovsky from Civica will be leading the presentation, which will be about 20-25 minutes, and the presentation will give you some context and overview on the project. My name is here as the independent facilitator with Cumming & Company. We're also pleased to have with us today a number of other key participants and city leadership team members, including David Kellerstone from the City of Vaughan, Dana Kademi from the City of Vaughan, and Danny Wu from the City of Vaughan. We have Alex Ding from Civica, Sarah Esmali from Civica, and from Hydrotech, another key consultant working along with Civica on the plan, we have Fabian Papa and Kelvin Meng. Next, please. So the purpose of this meeting is to provide you an overview of the plan and the work that's been completed to date. It has been ongoing for a couple of years now, with a lot of important technical work being undertaken and study and analysis. You may have participated in the first public information session, which is well over a year ago. So tonight you will have the opportunity to learn about the overview of the plan and the work completed to date. You'll have the opportunity to learn about the master plan alternative solutions and evaluation criteria that were part of the environmental assessment. And importantly, you'll be able to hear about the preferred servicing recommendations, both at the citywide level and at the secondary plan and intensification area level. And we hope that you'll have the opportunity then to provide feedback. If there's any questions that we're able to address this evening, we will do so and be able to provide you enough information for you then to continue to provide your input. Next, please. So how to participate tonight. At any point in time, starting now if you wish, you can go to the Q&A. You'll see in the bottom of your screen where it says a Q&A. Many of you are familiar with the Zoom tools and other tools. It's also a diagram that's shown here. So as members of the public, you'll see where it says Q&A. If you click on that, you can at any point in time type in a question or comment, and that will go to the Q&A discussion. So the presentation will be given live. Following the presentation, I will go right to that Q&A, and I will start to read aloud your questions. So I will read them out verbatim for whether it's a question or a comment for the project team to respond to. When I read them aloud, I will not be reading your names. So if you were hoping to have your name read out, it's not going to be. I will be reading out the questions and the comments. And I'll try to group them and organize them so that there can be an opportunity for some good answering with respect to the questions. We may not get to all of them this evening. We certainly hope so. We've planned to go till 8:30. If we need a little bit more time, we can do so. If we miss a few questions, they will be in the feedback report that I'll be preparing from the meeting, and we'll ensure that there are responses as best possible to those in that. So at any point in time, you don't have to wait till the presentation's over. You can put in any questions and answers or questions that you'd like into that Q&A or comments about what you're hearing about the project study. Next, please. So other ways to provide your input, you would have registered at vaughan.ca/urban water plan. And if you had registered there, you may have had the opportunity, and if you haven't, I encourage you to do so, to go through the website where you'll see the different maps, the information that you'll be able to look at different scales to be able to really zero in on the things that are most important to you. So at vaughan.ca urban water plan will be available until July 31, so another week. And there's also a survey there. So at the end of the site, you can click on survey, and we're asking you a number of questions, and there's some open boxes where you can provide your other comments at the end if you had specific questions or comments. We also encourage you at any point to submit feedback directly to the project team by the email urbanwaterplan@vaughan.ca. That is something that can be accessed directly by the project manager, which is Diego, and he'll be able to see that and ensure that it can be addressed by whomever may need to be. If you are not able to email and you wanted to call, you can certainly call and leave a message, or hopefully directly get a hold of someone to speak with you. With respect to your questions or comment. All public comments will be considered. A feedback report on what was heard will be prepared. It'll be made available on the city's website. So we really encourage your input as much as possible on anything that is important to you about the plan. I will say we note that there are lots of different interests with respect to those who registered this evening, and we'll try to get to details, but we may be more likely to be at some of the overview perspective to ensure that there's a good overview understanding. So we really want to ensure this is an informative session for all of you. We have tonight 23 connections, so that could be more than one person at each connection who has joined us, along with 9 or 10 individuals who are providing context. So we really appreciate that you're here and that you're listening, and will be able to provide some comments for us. So again, the Q&A is where you would put in your questions and comments, and we look forward to you doing that as soon as you like to, and we'll carry on. So the next slide, please. So at this point, I'd like to introduce Diego, who I understand will give you a brief context, and then he'll move right into Elmar, who will present the plan to you. And when you're putting in your Q&A, if you could put it to everyone, sometimes it'll put an individual that you could direct it to. If it says to everyone, then that would be the best place for it. If it goes to one person, they may not be able to see it. So it should go to everyone, and then I will read all of those aloud for the project team to be aware of and also to respond to. So Diego, to you, please.
Hello, everybody. I'm Diego Velasquez. I'm a project manager with Infrastructure Planning and Engineering here at the City of Vaughan. And first of all, thank you for being here on the second open house for the Integrated Urban Water Master Plan. This has been a long journey to reach to this point. We initiated this project in June of 2020, and then we held our first Public Information Center in July of 2021. At this point, we presented what were we trying to achieve with this project, the project constraints and opportunities in terms to the city's urban water infrastructure, which includes water, wastewater, and stormwater systems. Today, we are holding our second Public Information Center, which will be talking more about what have we done up to this point and what are the different evaluation approaches that we took to determine the preferred servicing solutions for the city. And without further delay, I want to pass it to Ilmar, who is the project manager for Civica Infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Diego. Thank you for the introduction. And also thank you for those that are attending tonight. I'm looking forward to providing an overview of the project and hopefully bringing some information that will be helpful for you. So this being a master plan, the goals of this master plan are listed both on the website. And actually, before I get into the presentation, I also do want to direct you to the website where a lot of the detailed materials on each of the service areas is present. And I will touch on that near the end of the presentation, and that may also be a place for you to point to us if you want to have some specific questions on certain service areas and servicing schemes. So the goals are to emphasize environmental sustainability and resiliency. That's automatic. To emphasize environmental sustainability and resiliency by integrating land use planning and environmental protection. To support the city's plans for growth as expressed in the Vaughan official plan and other city master plans, and to identify and evaluate projects that meet future servicing needs, and to integrate priorities of Green Directions Vaughan, the city's community sustainability master plan, and the Vaughan official plan. So this project is being conducted in accordance with the requirements of phases 1 and 2 of the Municipal Class Environmental Assessment process, which is an approved process under the Environmental Assessment Act. Public input is an important component of the process, and tonight is the second public consultation opportunity, with the first being conducted at the completion of phase 1, which Diego mentioned earlier. I My apologies, there's a timer in the background that I had to turn off here. So after completion of this session, the selection of preferred solutions will be finalized and the master plan will be posted for final public review and completion. The work required to complete the master plan has included a background review of previous information, studies, policies, and systems analysis, hydraulic modeling of the water, wastewater, and stormwater systems, which were done to assess the performance and need for additional capacity to accommodate the future growth plan for these areas, as well as make adjustments for future climate change impacts that potentially could arise. The analysis of the infrastructure and community environment and development of high-level concept strategies, and selection of evaluation criteria and screening of alternatives to conclude with preferred alternatives and program implementation strategies. As we are nearing the conclusion of this study, tonight will be an opportunity to review the recommended servicing strategies for the priority areas as well as the overall community. The first phase of the project is defining a clear problem opportunity statement. And this was done as part of the presentation for the first PIC meeting. And the problem opportunity statement continues as to establish a preferred integrated servicing plan for the city's water, wastewater, and stormwater systems that meets current needs and supports growth while emphasizing environmental sustainability and resiliency. The study area for this master plan is depicted on this map and is represented by the various components that have assisted in focusing servicing considerations in both the general community service areas that are across the city, as well as the specific intensification areas, which are the interim servicing strategy study areas, which are outlined in red, the secondary planning areas, which are shaded in green, the major transit station areas, which are the blue outlines, as well as the regional intensification corridors, which are the black outlines. There is a lot of information on this map, and really, at the end of the day, each system is having its own separate reports, and that's where a lot of the details will be presented through the master planning documentation. And then the interconnections are what we're presenting in the overview servicing maps. So the master planning process is focused on identifying alternatives that address the problem statement and then evaluating these against a defined set of criteria to prioritize and identify the preferred solution or combination of solutions. In defining the possible solutions, we have recommended the following 4 alternatives. The first is the do nothing alternative and is used as a benchmark to help explore what would happen if no changes were made to the study area. As the study area is required to accommodate future growth while emphasizing environmental sustainability and resiliency, all of the future conditions are most likely not going to be addressed by doing nothing. And this solution is really not carried forward other than just recognizing that it is an option if available to be applied. Alternative 2 is to limit community growth. This option is possible where the ability to limit community growth is available. However, for the identified study area, the planning process from the official plan through to various stages of community planning has occurred or is in the approval process. This solution is not a feasible solution in this case, as growth is occurring and the master plan is intended to accommodate that future growth. Alternative 3 is conservation and environmental enhancements. And regardless of the need to accommodate future growth, this option is favorable as it can contribute to the environmental sustainability and resiliency of the infrastructure and the communities. This alternative will be applied to every servicing evaluation as the first priority to meet the current and future servicing needs while enhancing environmental sustainability and resiliency. Alternative 4 is about solving the servicing constraint by expanding the existing system and infrastructure and or adding new infrastructure. This solution is only applied when alternative 3 is either not directly solving the servicing shortfall or the existing system does not have the sufficient capacity to accommodate the new growth needs that are coming in the future. So for alternative 3, there are a number of best practices that can be applied and are suitable for each of the servicing types. So for the water supply servicing areas, the first of these several enhancements is efficiency, where the city can promote best practices for assisting communities to be more efficient with water use. The second option or opportunity is reducing waste through conservation strategies, fixture types, and awareness programs. The third is system-led reduction through proactive programs and maintenance activities targeting reduction in system water loss through leakage. This is a system-wide approach. The fourth is pressure optimization through zone control and pressure reduction, which influences water loss, breakage risk, and other overconsumption challenges related to higher pressure. The fifth is outdoor water use through plant selection, garden planning, water restriction compliance, and low water landscaping. And the sixth is public education, where information, consultations, education, and program access can enhance awareness, knowledge, and compliance with water restriction programs. For the wastewater side, high efficiency fixtures can reduce the amount of domestic wastewater being created. Second would be inflow and infiltration reduction. And is a process of finding and reducing the amount of natural groundwater and rain-derived surface water that enters the sanitary system, which takes up available transmission capacity needed for the sewage. The third is cross-connection elimination, where on occasion, clean water discharges from stormwater can be inadvertently directed to the sanitary system, thereby, again, taking away available sewage transmission capacity. The fourth is conservation awareness that can have direct impact on wastewater generation rates. And the fifth is public education, where information and awareness can influence the decisions and action of the community with regards to wastewater generation. For stormwater systems, the types of conservation and environmental enhancements to be considered are rainwater collection and reuse at source for the benefit of gardens and lawns. Second would be larger scale rainfall harvesting and recharge systems, where more comprehensive in-ground systems are designed to capture and retain runoff for slow infiltration and control into the groundwater systems and natural environment. Third would be chemical use awareness, which has largely been corrected through provincial legislation banning domestic cosmetic applications, but where continued awareness of the impact of uncontrolled chemical and oil discharges into the stormwater systems will create impacts on the natural environment. And fourth, discharge quantity and quality control related to municipal stormwater ponds that are designed to meet target discharge standards and that are required to be maintained and cleaned periodically of sediments to ensure long-term performance objectives are met. And there are also several programs in place at the city that relate to both the environmental and sustainability aspects of the required accommodation for future growth. As noted, growth that is being accommodated is approved through many layers of planning requirements, starting from the official plan and planning approvals processes and guided by a multitude of policies, regulations, and processes intended to create livable and sustainable communities. Many of these initiatives are available on the city website and are well in progress. The master plan is structured to evaluate a total of 12 areas referred to as functional strategy servicing areas, and these are the priority growth areas shown in the earlier map. And to look at overall servicing needs across the city and in those specific areas. And looking at each of these areas and understanding the problems faced by the impact of growth and demands in servicing, these evaluation criteria were considered to assess the servicing alternatives that were available and were applied as follows. For technical merit, this merit relates to the feasibility and constructability of a solution compared to other alternate routes or servicing options. This criteria assesses the practicality of advancing a solution based solely on technical merit. Impact on the natural environment is related to the expansion or addition to new work, as these options may involve crossing of natural features or sensitive areas. Routes and options were preferred where this impact was lowest. Socioeconomic impact relates to the local community and commerce as a result of the proposed infrastructure improvement. Considerations such as traffic, residential versus industrial usages, local versus regional routes, and scale and length of proposed routes. The preferred alternatives were those that minimize these impacts. Financial impact relates to the cost, both construction and operating, that influence the priority with lower long-term operating costs taking preference over lower initial capital costs. The balance in this costing is referred to as a life cycle cost, where both costs are evaluated and the lowest overall cost can be identified in comparison to equal opportunities. The solutions that have been proposed provide a feasible servicing strategy at the master planning level, and in many cases will require further environmental consideration and study at the project level. However, as a planning document, these preferences provide the technical and financial information to allow the city to proceed to further servicing and implementation projects. The first map presented here is the overall citywide water servicing solution, which focuses on the interconnections between the growth centers and broader servicing network requirements for future growth areas in the north and west areas of the city. They're identified as blue lines on this map. The wastewater servicing needs of the city at the city level are largely accommodated through the York Region trunk sewer system, with city sewer extensions required to meet local community needs. For the intensification in southern areas, the needs can be predominantly met through increasing capacity in existing sections, and new infrastructure is anticipated to be required in the north and west areas of the city to accommodate future growth. These areas will also require new pumping stations to accommodate servicing topography and will be subject to future more intense studies as the projects are identified and further advanced to implementation. The servicing plans for the 12 intensification areas can be found in the PSA website as I described earlier, and at the bottom of the page you will find the 12 area icons. Each icon will take you to a further information and mapping area where infrastructure changes are proposed and where you can see the maps in specific areas that have been identified for either expansion or additional capacity identification. And to assist in the conversation tonight, we've identified the various areas that will actually be impacted by expansion or additional infrastructure based on the column on the left being the water, wastewater, and stormwater system. And along the top are the 6 of 12, in this case, being the Vaughan Metropolitan Center, the Vaughan Mill Center, Western Road and Highway 7 area, the Promenade Center, Yonge and Steeles Corridor, and the Concord Go Center. And as you can see on this slide, only the water system within the Vaughan Mill Center is not being affected. All the other areas will have some modifications to increase capacity. And the remaining 6 areas on this slide are the Woodbridge Center, the Steeles West Subway Station, Dufferin and Center Streets, Rutherford Go Station, Carville Center, and the Maple Go Station. And again, identification of which areas are having some impact and expansion of their systems are shown here. This concludes the formal presentation. I will return the facilitation to Sue to guide us through any questions.
Great. Thank you very much, Ilmar. And I just wanted to note there were a few who joined us just as you were getting underway. So if you go to the Q&A at the bottom of your screen and click on the Q&A box, you would be able to put in your questions or comments there. I'm going to read them out verbatim from there to address, see if there's an opportunity for addressing a question or comment, and we'll hope to hear good information from you. We are also recording the presentation. The presentation portion will be placed on the website so that others who may not have missed this evening within a couple of days be able to see that and hear the presentation. At any point tonight, if you're not able to stay for the length or when you realize you want to go to some of the absolute details, please go to vaughan.ca urban water plan, where you would be able to review the plan, specifically those 12 areas that Elmar spoke of. And there is a very short survey where you could provide your comments, and certainly you can submit your feedback at any time to the email address here, urbanwaterplan@vaughan.ca, or by phone 905-832-2281. And from this evening and from the continuation of the PIC online after July 31, then this feedback would be considered in the finalization of the integrated urban water plan, document in the project file, and at some point issue notice of completion. There are obviously lots of steps